Hello and welcome to my Introduction to College of English oral presentation, where I've selected option 2 and will be presenting A Rose for Emily as if I were selling it to the readers. So firstly, with the summary, A Rose for Emily, written by William Faulkner, is the story of the people of Jefferson and the town's old eccentric, Emily Grierson. This story details the mental breakdown of Emily throughout her life and the torment from the townspeople that lead her to said mental breakdown. The story takes place in a southeastern town in the U.S. right off the heels of the Civil War, and the story delves into many themes such as the dangers of holding onto tradition and the clash between past and present that can be seen in characters throughout the story. Over the course of the story, which is written in non-linear form, skating across different periods of Emily's life, we get to see how the townspeople interact with Emily and see how Emily herself is shackled by tradition. Moving on to conflict. The core conflict within the story is the townspeople versus Emily. The townspeople are constantly applying pressure onto Emily so that she remains the ideal emblem of the past they see her as, and from the perspective of Emily, the townspeople are an insurmountable opposing force. They're the ones that lead her to her mental breakdown, and seeing how the townspeople constantly torment Emily throughout her entire life is ominously engaging. Another significant conflict is the battle between modernity and tradition. In the story, all action and reactions occur in response to this conflict. Having this kind of clash of ideology in every character adds a layer of complexity to them and the story as a whole. For example, Emily has a great deal of inner conflict within herself regarding her desire to hold onto tradition and to embrace modernity. Homer Barron is also a character that incites a large amount of conflict within the story. He serves as the trigger that finally sends Emily into her mental breakdown. For symbolism, A Rose for Emily is rich with it, and it serves to make every sentence of the story much more impactful. Symbolism is used especially well when the story takes on themes of time and tradition. Emily herself serves as a symbol of the past to the people of Jefferson. To them, Emily embodies the past itself and everything it represents. Readers can also infer a great deal about a character thanks to the symbolism. For example, at certain points in her life, Emily will have unique indicators as to what her views on time are. For example, while she's still in her youth, she wears her hair short, symbolizing that she wishes to embrace modernity. In her old age, she keeps a clock concealed in her clothes that is constantly ticking, symbolizing her ignoring of the passage of time itself. This kind of symbolism, this implicit symbolism, lets a reader come to their own conclusions about a character without having to be told anything explicitly by the author. I found the points of interest of A Rose for Emily, what makes the story very engaging, to be a combination of elements. There's the uneasiness and the uncanny tone of the story that helps to build up Emily's descent into madness. By the time Emily does break, the reader has taken in the feeling of dread just enough to realize how severely Emily's mental state has deteriorated. I'd compare the uneasiness in this story to American Psycho. Both works keep the reader constantly suspended in discomfort, and just like American Psycho, A Rose for Emily keeps the inner workings of their protagonist's mind hidden, so we never really know what's going on with them. Additionally, the non-linearity of the story keeps the reader constantly guessing. On a first read, though, it can be somewhat confusing, but the reader is able to treat the story like a puzzle, constantly putting the pieces together.